Good afternoon. I suggest to talk about technologies and all things related to technologies, to talk about how to learn about new technologies, how to learn how to use them, and how to automate the work of translator as much as we can. My name is Iryna Lebedyeva. I'm a certified translator of ATA, an editor, DTP specialist, and I also work on localization. I do technical translations, and that is why I work with many technical tools, and I want to share this information with you. So let's talk about technologies, right? As you know, technologies significantly make the life of translators much more easy, and also they allow to do quality assurance to help us with editing and proofreading. So if we start with some QA tools, then we can, after using those tools, read the text once more. So concentrating on the content, not on some technical things. So technologies, they make our life easy, or at least they should. So the perfect working balance of the working tools looks more or less like this. So this is the basic set of every modern translator, and it includes the following tools. Usually it is a postal client, so we all need mail. We need to send emails and get emails. Also desktop programs such as Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Also the CAT tools, one or two programs to work with translation memories, for example Studio or MemoQ, or any other tools, because now there is a great variety of them on the market. Also there are QA tools. They are usually built in the modern CAT tools, and also it is good to have a project management system. So if you do not have many clients, then you can just work with Excel plus filters. So we have a plus symbol here, and it stands for different additional programs for our convenience. Those can be some plugins to add to our CAT tools or to our desktop programs. These can be vocabularies and dictionaries offline and online. These can be macroses, so depending on the project you work on, the projects will define the tools that you use, and there can be a great number of them. See, I hope that this picture is actually what you have and what you use, that you have all the tools that you like and that you use, that you're just working and enjoying them. This would be the situation in the perfect world. I hope that this world is perfect for you, but if not, we will try to do something with it within the next 40 minutes or an hour. So if it's not like this, we will try to work on it, I promise you. So in the real life, every translator faces a great number of problems, because in the ideal world, the clients they would send us files prepared for translation, and we would have enough time for translation. So in the perfect world with perfect clients. However, in the real life, we have to work with some difficult formats, and with the other formats which do not allow us to work on the text straight away directly. Also, we face other problems such as tight deadlines. Sometimes clients send us some huge packages of documents, and to work on them we have to spend enormous amount of time. Sometimes one project is split between several translators, and that is why we might have problems with the terminology and with the working with the same resources, with quality control, and the result depends not only on our efforts but also on the efforts of other people. It is good to have some tools to ensure smooth work and operation of the whole team. Also, sometimes there are texts with a lot of abbreviations, and those abbreviations, it is good to extract them from the text before we start to translate the text. To send this list of abbreviations to the clients and help to understand what they stand for. So if we do not do that, we will have to write our client questions again and again, what this or that abbreviation stands for. And I'm sure you can add other problems, because there are a lot of them, a lot of problems which modern translators face. There are a lot of problems, but also there are a lot of solutions on the market to help us solve those problems. So the only solution here, actually, and the only way to ensure high quality of translation within the deadline is to automate all the working processes we can with the help of technologies. And the principle here is that if we repeat any action, we need to automate it. So you have to look for some repetitions, you have to look for algorithms. So if you see that there are some actions or there is some consequence of actions which we repeat again and again, we need to ask ourselves the question, don't I waste time every time I face a certain task on doing the same things, and is there a way to automate it? And for the beginners as well as more experienced translators, the set of tools would look more or less like this. So this is a mixture, of course, with a lot of technologies, platforms, plugins, and various software solutions. So how can we understand what you need and how you can choose from this variety of tools and resources? And I have to tell you that it is only a minor part of the solutions available on the modern market.
So, what are the actions we need to take in order to structure this process in some way and create our own set of indispensable tools for everyday use? So, how do we make friends with the technology? I have split the work into work with technology into four main stages. First of all, we need to define the goal. What do we need this technology for? Then, we also need some kind of structured approach in order to avoid the technical mishmash with the solutions with the different manufacturers, developers, etc. Of course, we will need some kind of healthy self-discipline, because it takes time to learn those technical solutions. It takes effort, and the learning process will not happen on its own, especially when you're already working on a project. Of course, you need to allocate some time for learning, and this is of course beyond any discussion. And in order to define these goals and develop a structured approach to learning, let us ask ourselves a number of basic questions. First of all, what is the process I would like to improve or to automate? What part of your daily repeated routine activities need to be automated? So, for instance, if you are sending similar emails, just changing the name of the client, maybe you could be using a template for this purpose. Also, you could be working with texts which are similar. Maybe the terminology is similar. How this could be automated, how glossaries could be employed for different projects, one and the same glossary. So everything that you would like to improve or to automate, this could be your basis for learning. Next, what are the tools that you might need for that? I believe everyone can use Google and professional forums, and the answers to these questions are very easy to find. Last but not least, we'll have a list of blogs that I'm using. I will also recommend some experts who write about technologies, who use technologies, and who are worth reading, worth watching, and worth taking part in the workshops we organize. This is very helpful in your professional development. One more question here is how the use of one technology can influence something else you are doing. So, as an example, I'll mention the project management systems. In this case, quite often we use built-in modules which are compatible with tools for instance, analysis of text to find repetitions. And for instance, built-in any count models enable statistics, including statistics in scanned documents, in scanned PDFs. Also, one more built-in model is called cat count, and it calculates the number of effective words which we can then use in the invoice for the client. One more tool enables to connect project management system with your time management system, time counter. One more question to ask yourself is whether the time and money spent on the solution will be covered as an investment. So if at the initial stage you do not need to buy SDL Studio, you can use one of the free resources of this kind, like MemSource, MateCut, SmartCut, etc. there is a big number of such platforms right now, and they provide the services free of charge or for some conditional use by freelance translators. And you can be using those until you decide you need more extended, powerful functionality. And also, while your number of projects is small, you can be using free small tools, and then you will be able to invest into something bigger. In order to begin describing the processes and selecting tools for your work, for the processing, for instance, of files, for automating processes, I recommend that you use mnemonic maps. So they look basically like a tree-like structure. In the center you place the name of the process. I'll give you an example. So in the middle you have one of the processes, like document analysis, and then every branch of this tree stands for some tool. In this case, these are the tools enabling counting number of words in the text or document. There are free online tools such as word count, iWord count, free word count, etc. They are quite numerous. Also, you can be using statistics from Microsoft Word. You can be using AnyCount professional statistics, which enables counting words in AutoCAD and other complicated formats, Visio, scanned PDF, InDesign, etc. Basically any files. Also, there is cat count, which enables counting effective words, and also there can be standard analysis in the cat tool you are using. And in the next branch, you can see I've given two examples such as STL, Trados Studio, and MemoQ. There can be any number of such tools. So you have to create the flowchart of your process, and then you will have the understanding of what exactly you need. Then goes the selection of a solution and learning of the tool you have selected. So you've listed a big number of programs, of software. How then we can choose? Well, you can read information on forums, on professional blogs. There are professional reviewers who can explain things in a very clear manner. You can use some professional resources. Here you see my favorite one, Alternative 2. Basically, it's about sorry for that. Thank you. So, what's it for? What's the functionality? Alternative 2 is a platform which can offer you alternatives for any software which you search in the find field. So, if I'm looking at an OCR solution for text recognition, I'm getting a list of possible solutions, and also I see the search field with a number of options, and they include such solutions as online OCR, OCR feeder, Epic Cloud OCR, etc. So usually you are getting several screens of such solutions. So first of all, you can always see whether that's a paid solution or a free one. If you are looking for a good alternative to a paid program, you can use, for instance, some solutions offered by Alternative 2. This was how I found an alternative to AutoCAD. I searched for AutoCAD in the find field, and I was offered to use DraftSide, which basically implements all the functionality of AutoCAD free of charge, and that's quite a convenient tool. So here is a place where you always find free alternatives to paid software you were using, and even if it's not a full-scale alternative to something you were using, such as InDesign, you will still find some software which will let you open and read and use those InDesign files. So use their search field to find anything you need. Also, there should be some wholesome self-discipline and time necessary to learn a new solution. After you have visualized your process as some kind of flowchart and you have selected some solution you want to use, you need to allocate some hours per week for learning. And I recommend that you follow through with the decision you have made. So, for instance, you have decided to do it for 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 hours per week, and do not postpone this till later, because when a project emerges, you will have no time to learn. It's better to do it beforehand, to define your goals and to follow through. And it's not necessary to spend as much as 1 day per week. You can distribute several hours along the week, and this can be sufficient. Some advice when it comes to process automation. Several approaches to work with software documentation. First, you have to be conscious in this. Always take a note of any repeated action, and with the assistance of Google, professional forums, blogs, try to find some technical solutions for the automation of these actions. For this, ask yourself how often you are doing this or that action and how they can be automated. As an example, let us consider mail templates or documents with variables or hotkeys, macroses, or some kind of extensions for Microsoft Word and Excel. Believe me, once you start using at least one of those programs, your professional daily life will improve greatly, because you will not be spending your energy for manual search for incorrect brackets in the documents, and TransTools will do everything for you. You will not need to type in the letter for the second, third time, because you will be using phrase expander. You will not be using screenshots in Paint. You will be using Lightshot, and you will be able to explain things to your client in real time. You will be able to select a fragment of the image and to add a command. Use simple key combinations as Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and to press the send button. You will not have to invent anything to save things in different formats using outdated tools. If the client sends you a document in some difficult or complicated format, consider the option of taking the assignment. Because, for instance, if you have to do with AutoCAD, those are ugly technical drawings which make the life terrible for translators, and many of them refuse to do such work, even if it's a well-paid job, because they don't know how to deal with those kinds of files. But there is a solution. There are trans tools for AutoCAD, for Visio, TranslateCAD, and these are the tools which enable to extract all the text from that complicated format into a simple two-language word table. And you can translate the table in any software, and again use trans tools to substitute the original text with a translated text. And as a result, you will get a translated AutoCAD file. And believe me, that's an opportunity to earn huge money, because AutoCAD is quite often repeated text. If you ever seen that example of those technical drawings in the right corner of the technical drawing, you can see that a little table where the text basically often repeats itself, and sometimes AutoCAD is a way to earn several thousand euros in a couple of days. Sometimes also translators believe that they have to buy InDesign and install it on their computer to be able to view file, but that's not necessary. You can use language terminal, which can convert that file into some kind of PDF format and text format, and you will be able to translate and use PDF for the comparison of the text.
So if you're looking for a solution, there sure are solutions. And the modern CAD tools, they translate inside a PageMaker, Quark Express files. Also, there are external platforms, as I said, such as Language Terminal, which allow you to view the files in a layout format and work with them, transforming them in two-language format, which can be used and translated through CAD tools. However, I really strongly recommend, if you work with serious clients on serious projects, to outsource DTP to DTP specialists, and you need to talk about it with the clients, because clients often they do not understand, do not realize that they actually need DTP. So maybe sometimes you can talk to the colleagues who provide such services, or you can offer this service yourself and charge additional money for it. It is a good way to expand your portfolio. Also, you need to have enough time to prepare files for translation. Even if it seems to you that the file looks good, if it was transformed, you have to look at the original file and compare it, because there might be some hidden symbols which will appear in the CAT program, and they will ruin your file. Maybe the original formatting was done in such a way that it does not allow you to make the table of content automatically. So you need to do it before starting on working with the document. You will spend this time in the beginning, but you will not have to spend twice as much time after translation. And always block and hide all the segments that you do not need to translate. Believe me, in the documents there might be many symbols such as emails, codes of some products, some legal addresses of clients. Sometimes they are not to be translated. And what to do with it. So if you are working on Microsoft Word document, there is a tool which allows you to use a hidden font for a certain text, and that's what you can do before starting to translate it. In this case, I'm talking about Word documents, so you can block certain segments in any CAT tool. For example, in Studio, it is Ctrl-L. So you block a certain segment or a group of segments. Ctrl+L. So I'm talking about Strada Studio. But in any CAT tool, there is an option to block the segments you do not need to translate. So they will be excluded from your statistics. And it is also very important if you give some documents to subcontractors. So why would you pay to your subcontractor for certain things he will not have to translate? So he will just copy those segments. He will do nothing, but you will have to pay for it, for this volume of work. It is really easier to prepare the document beforehand.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly, yeah.
И преимущество использования переводчиков автоматических и программ — это в том, что можно выделить все то, что нужно скрыть, и пометить текст как скрытый текст, а потом уже работать над документом. Really, there are a lot of ways to automate those actions. So with different tools like Trans tool, which has some built functions and rejects functions to work on different type of content. Also, you can create the packages and consolidate files. Here I'm talking about working with CAT tool. So if you have similar documents, it would be better to consolidate them in one package and work on the package. Why? Because in this case it will be easier for you to see the statistics if you analyze the documents taking into consideration repetitions, and you will better understand what is the scope of your work. If you need to automatically substitute some terms, or if you need to find some term in the text, you will be able to work with all the documents using just one filter. It is much more convenient because you just group several files into one document and you do the search in all the documents at once. The next thing is preparing glossaries and lists of terms before starting to work on translation. So I have already told about the abbreviations that we need to extract them, and there is a good tool which I used to use, but the last time I tried to use it, this tool is not supported now. So now I'm actually looking for a new solution, and if I find it, I will let you know. As for the glossaries, you can prepare them with the help of SDL App Store software and on external platforms. There are good solutions such as Project Term Extract, Glossary Converter, One-Click Terms, and Trans Tools. This software also has certain functions for Excel files to work on glossaries. So this is what I really recommend you. The PDF files are to be carefully prepared for translation, and I do not recommend you to trust automatic converting, because you never know at which point there might be some mistakes, there might be some problems with the fonts, and when the formatting can be damaged. And if you do not prepare the files properly, you will miss the repetitions. So to avoid this situation, as you can see, there is a number of tools which can help you with the text recognition, such as Trans Tools and Code Zapper. They can help you to exclude extra tags, and those are the tools you can use. You can choose those which are good for you, and I really recommend you to prepare PDF files well before translating them. Use CAT tools in all cases when it is convenient, even if there are no repetitions. So here you can see the most widespread CAT tools. So my two favorites are Atradas and MemaQ. Also MateCat, SmartCat, MemSource, they are free. Cafe Trans Espresso. If I'm not mistaken, if in the membership plus for member plus subscribers, it is provided free of charge. For all others they have to pay, but I don't use it, so I'm not sure. I use the two tools which are not free. Why you need to use CAT tools even if there are no repetitions? First, it is the consistency of terminology. You can always use a glossary and make sure that the terminology is used consistently. You always can use the variables and all the functions of the studio using external resources. For example, you can have search in Google or Lingo or any online dictionary. So it can be built in the studio with an additional plugin. And apart from other things, Studio MemoQ and other CAT tools, they resolve the issue of working with difficult formats. Because now on the market there are a lot of filters for difficult formats, and most of those filters, they are built in those tools, at least those which you pay for. And of course you need to learn about different plugins and applications and online services which allow to expand the functions of your software. First of all, it's SDL App Store, so there are a lot of plugins there which allow you to convert the glossaries and use additional filters. I have a question. So if you install a lot of applications, won't it interfere with the work of the CAT tool itself? Well, for me it's not a problem. I use only the plugins and applications that I really need. And if you check the plugins in App Store, you will see that many plugins, their functions actually are similar. So you do not need to have several plugins with similar functions. You just need to choose one of them if they are similar. You don't need all of them. I use Converter for the glossaries. I use plugin which allows to search in Wikipedia in the interface of SDL Studio. I use Anonymizer, which allows not to have data of subcontractors in the resulting file. So there are not so many of them, like 6 or 7 plugins that I use. Plus, some of them in the latest versions, they are built in. So I don't think that it's a problem. I never had such kind of problems. Maybe when a new version of the studio is issued, maybe there can be some issues. So if it's a plugin for the version of Studio 2017, maybe it won't work for 2019. So the problem can also only be with the versions of the CAT tool. I don't think that there are any other problems. So if you use plugins, it won't interfere with you using the CAT tool. Also, there is language terminal. It is very useful for those professionals who like to work with MemoQ, so who like MemoQ more than Dradas, for example. And TM Town, it is a platform which was created first of all to work with translation memories, with two language or bilingual files, and it allows to reformat files in such a way to ensure the consistency between different CAT tools. This platform allows also to create memory if you have an original file and a translated file, if you do a translation not in the CAT tool. Also, it allows to exchange glossaries and to convert files into different formats. It's a really great platform, and all the functions, at least the functions that I am mentioning, such as converting between formats, all those functions are free. Also, you can try new technologies of speech recognition and text reading. So I'm actually actively using both speech recognition and text reading. So when you dictate text, of course it is a skill which is to be constantly improved, and you need to spend hours on learning before you dictate well enough for the software. But it is worth it, because for simple text without some special terminology, when you dictate, you can actually translate with a speed of 1,000 words per hour. So that's a lot. So just imagine that you can translate 1,000 words per hour. So in 3 hours, you can do your job, which you usually do in 8 hours. So you don't really have to work 8 hours. It's enough to work 3 hours with good technologies. As for dictating, those technologies can be combined with any CAT tool. For example, I use Swipe plus Dragon. This is an app for Android. So I use it together with my desktop, and I am dictating through my phone, and the text goes to the segment in my CAT tool. Then I verify the segment, and if there are any repetitions, then the studio will offer me those repetitions, and if there are no repetitions, I just continue dictating. In MemoQ, there is an app for iPhone. It is called Hey MemoQ. This app allows, in a similar way, to dictate directly in MemoQ. There are also Google services and speech texter. So currently there are a lot of applications which could work for this purpose. The thing that you need to remember is that Russian and Ukrainian are not supported by all the software tools, so you need to look for the tools which work with Ukrainian and Russian. And the text reading module. What is good about it? When I complete my translation and I clean the document, I started the text reading module, and it actually reads out loud all the things that I have translated. And such approach to work, first of all, allows not to use your eyes so intensively. Also, it allows to change the channel through which you are perceiving the information. It's important because when there is a deadline, you don't have an opportunity to just forget about the text for 3 days and then come back to it. So to perceive the information, it's good to use different channels. Also, when you are listening to someone pronouncing your text, you can kind of catch some endings which are wrong, or some other things which are difficult to catch when you are just reading the text. Because every person, or at least most of us, we tend to a cognitive bias. What does it mean? We don't see our own mistakes. We are missing them in the text, in the flow of the text. And when we change the channel by which we perceive the information, we hear those mistakes. So it is highly recommended. At least you can try it. Maybe it is gonna work for you, and maybe you like it, and you will see that the quality of the translation is improved, like it did for me. Always do automatic QA before you start editing your text. For this purpose, there are a lot of modules, additional plugins and applications. My main tool here is Xbench. I use it in the studio, and before starting to edit and proofread the text, I correct spelling, I correct numbers which were not entered right, some tags, and it can all be done through this QA module. And after you get rid of all the formal mistakes, only then you can start the human proofreading and editing. Not to waste your time to find some extra commas, some wrong numbers, because all those things they distract you from more serious things, from some mistakes in the content. So you can do first the automatic QA, and after that you can do in-depth editing. If you have more than 20 clients, then I recommend you not to use Excel, but to use a specialized project management system. So why? Actually, it allows you to manage the projects and to automatically send invoices to your clients, to maintain the database of your clients, also to define the payment terms, and you can regulate all those things, and you can trace which invoices have been paid, which have not been paid.
You can also set the access to the client's FTP server and not to look for this information every time. You will be able to access the client's FTP server directly from your software. Also, you can connect some additional function if they are compatible. So, for instance, the exact span, if it's a solution of the same developer as the developer of the project management system, it is compatible. So there are unlimited opportunities. Try them, and my experience shows that by using project management system, I am able to save several hours per month, and this is quite a lot. I hope you agree. And whenever possible, take part in workshops, read expert blogs, and learn from the best. So, Samir? I do my best to take part in Samex educational workshops. Each time I learn something new, some new solutions of issues I never thought before. This Thursday, Samex is going to have a workshop. If you want to improve your technical skills considerably, this is a workshop you need to take part in, and you won't even have to go to some European country or the US, because Sameh is here with us. One more person whose blog and YouTube channel I recommend is Kevin Losner. His blog is called Translations, and since recently he also has a YouTube channel. This is for translators who use MemoQ, and this is probably the best resource on MemoQ you can find as of today. Also, on his YouTube channel, Kevin shows step by step how to complete a certain action, how to work with text corpuses, etc., how to publish them. So there is a big number of pieces of good advice how to automate daily tasks of a translator. Highly recommended. And if you check out Kevin Losner's blog, on the left you can see a column of useful resources recommended by him. So I did not copy anything from there, but if you are interested, please go to Kevin's blog and check it out. And one more person here is Paul Filkin, the head of the client support service at Trados, and he has a wonderful blog with advice for studio users. And he also will be a speaker on Thursday or Friday here at this conference. That's it. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer your questions. I have a question from listeners from Israel. Is there any way to get rid of extra tags when importing a file? Yeah, use TransTools, I mentioned it before, and also Zapper, which is one more extension for Microsoft Word, which enable to cleanse the file as much as possible before importing it to Studio or any other CAT tool. Yes.
Thank you. I want to know your opinion about the online CAT tools such as MateCat, and because first of all we have a confidentiality issue with some documents, so we cannot really upload those documents. And the second thing, I have my own doubts because they have those tools as free tools just to take our human translations
just to train,
and to train
their own engines.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm aware about this problem.
Sometimes you look at it positively because the machine translate, but we assist them against our own benefit at the end, you know, as translators, because we fear somehow the MT, the neural MT in specific. So what's your opinion about this?
Yes, I totally agree, and I don't use any online tools except MemSource, but I use MemSource only on my client server and under their terms. So it's not my problem about their confidentiality if they prefer to use MemSource, right? But I'm not a big fan of free tools at all, as you know, because of those problems: confidentiality, training, machine translation engines, and who knows where my resources come.
Yes, but are you in favor of contributing to developing NMT to the extent that someday it might replace?
Yes,
are you in favor of that?
No, I'm not, but I mean, it's unavoidable.
So we take part in developing those engines?
No, I don't. Myself, I don't. As I said, I don't use any online tools.
Okay, and if I may ask, we can just like, what's your take on this? I mean, the other colleagues, are you happy with contributing to developing the neural machine translation engines by taking part?
It's interesting, actually, to test some of them. A Translator, for example.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
Because lots of people say that we are afraid of the machine translation.
Why should we? If we are professionals providing an excellent quality, and if we are specialists in some specific field, why should we be scared?
Yes, but the average translators will suffer a lot. I'm not talking about the real experts, but I'm talking about
the average translators are not here, so.
Okay, so yeah.
Should we care? I mean.
Yeah. But it's actually it's worth discussing. If you have a panel discussion or something, it is worth discussing because this is we take part in developing those engines, and eventually those free engines will not be free anymore after a while.
A lot of them are not free now.
Yes, now so many of them are free, but after
I mean,
a while,
the best of them are paid.
Yes.
The same as with CAT tools.
I know,
the best of them are paid.
I know,
always
but
paid.
after a while, everything will be paid for. So we contribute to developing them, and then they will try to get rid of us at the end. Oh yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please just approach me and I will be happy to answer.